Hello, I'm James Risley, Research Data Manager and Senior Analyst at Digital Commerce 360, and I'll be your moderator for today's webinar. Thanks for joining us. Today, I'm joined by Tim Edmondson, Senior Director, Content Marketing and Research at Mountain. Converting high-intent audiences is crucial for retailers, but the question is, what is the best way to reach these audiences? Streaming TV, also known as connected TV, is a powerful performance channel that delivers targeted ads to viewers on internet-connected TVs. Today, we will be delving into how you can leverage this tool to strengthen your marketing strategy and reach these audiences. Just a few housekeeping notes before we get going. We'll take questions at the end of the presentation, but you can ask them at any time using the chat box over on the right side of your screen. You can also use that box to let us know of any technical difficulties you're having, and someone will help you out with that. With that, let's get started. Welcome, Tim.
James, thanks for having me. Super excited to dive into the topic at hand. And so let's begin. No dilly-dally here. We're going to dive right into it. So that's me. Hi, hello. A little bit about me, myself, why it's probably a good idea to spend a little time learning about streaming TV advertising, connected TV advertising with me. I've been doing it for a while. So been in the industry for almost 10 years now. Had a front row seat to the advent of CTV advertising, streaming TV advertising. You know, it really came to prominence over the last, at this point, 7 years, 8 years, 6 years. It's a very new space, which is great because who doesn't like new things? But I've had a really great view and insight into how the industry has evolved, the technology that's come along with it. It's a very strong digital-backed channel. It's not like traditional television, which is more of a broadcast, set it and forget it, broad targeting. It's more like a performance channel, a digital channel, if used that way, similar to a search or a social. And so, yeah, I've spent a lot of time working in that space, observing, and now I'm going to share some of those insights I've picked up along the way with you all. So excited to do that. So essentially, like what we want to do, let's set the table. Connected TV, our key takeaway here. We want to really educate folks and reinforce the idea that connected television is essentially a performance channel. It can be used as a performance channel. Now, streaming TV advertising, you've probably seen headlines about Netflix adding an ad tier. I mean, it's been around for a while now. That made big waves in this space when they announced that. They've been adding users. It's been very healthy for them. But also, you've got your Hulus, Peacocks, Max, Discovery Plus, all of these streaming networks, not to mention the fasts, not to mention the streaming apps for established TV networks that are out there. And so you have TV advertising as we know it, which is that broad awareness play, but connected TV, because of its digital backbone, allows you to find high intent audiences, allows you to leverage a lot of data, insight, measurement to really generate conversions, to generate site traffic, and have it flow to your website using one of the most powerful mediums out there in advertising, which is the TV commercial. So diving into what we'll be talking about today, we've got our agenda here. So cover this a little bit, but we're going to start off with connected TV being an effective performance channel. Now, again, this is something that sits right alongside the awareness capabilities, and we're going to explore why it's tailor-made for driving measurable results. We're going to discuss how you can find high intent audiences. So again, those digital capabilities, you can really drill down, really find the viewers that are out there that would engage with your brand, that would want to take action, whether they're in market or if they knew about your brand, would become in market once you have a few more touch points with them. That's really fantastic capability. We'll explore that. And then we're going to talk about ways to leverage your holiday creative to expand the use, the value of that investment in video that you've put out there, whether it be on linear TV already or on social. Those video assets can be leveraged for connected television ongoing into Q1. We call it Q5 because we think it's an important extension of Q4, but we're going to cover that as well. So really excited to cover all of this stuff here on the agenda with you guys. Let's get going. So first things first, we're talking about the value of connected TV in general as an advertising medium, but we definitely have to address what's right coming up next on the calendar. It's going to be Q4, you guys. Super exciting, super terrifying, maybe, but definitely a huge opportunity to make a lot of generate a lot of new business, bring a lot of new folks to your brand, and just generate a ton of revenue. And the overall market trends, they support that. So if you look at this graph on this slide, you'll notice that there's growth year over year, every year. -1, which is 2008, spending dropped around 5%. But I mean, it takes a massive financial crisis that shakes the roots of our essentially our civilization to slow down holiday spending. So take that into account. I mean, this is something that we all kind of know anyway, but I feel like this chart really kind of illustrates just how much opportunity is waiting, because you can see that chart is increasing as we get more and more recent into the years that we just ran through. And it continues to beat analyst expectations too. I think that's an important note. With the best minds using the best available data, the consumers continue to surprise. So take that into consideration. Know that there's this big opportunity out there. You're going to want to make sure you're present everywhere you can be. And folks are streaming more now than ever. So being on connected television, advertising on connected television is an imperative. It's almost like I would say it is a necessity this year and into the future. So when it comes to what we've seen, and I say it's a necessity because we can look at our own platform. So a little bit about Mountain, and just as a heads up, the connected TV advertising space is a big one. It's growing, and there's a lot of different solutions out there. There's a lot of fragmentation as well. I mentioned Netflix and all the big names have their own streaming solutions. There's also ad solutions like Mountain out there that are available, and so you get a little bit of a mix of how things are done, which it can be a bit of a challenge to kind of lock in everything, your understanding of it, but for the purposes of this presentation, we're going to be kind of looking through the lens of how Mountain does things, and specifically speaking to the performance capabilities of connected television. This is going to illustrate why that's a big deal, why you should be being on CTV, but also launching performance campaigns on connected TV as well. Awareness, you always want that, but the performance aspect is a huge opportunity. And so from last year, we saw records. We broke a ton of records across our platform when it comes to performance that was driven by our advertisers. The spend was at the all-time high. This shows that your peers, your competitors are active on connected TV. They're running performance campaigns with a solution like Mountain. The return on ad spend was a record high. That is because the technology continues to be iterated on. So very similar to like a Google or a Meta, we're always trying to perfect their optimizations, release new products and technology to help improve customer engagement for advertisers. Mountain does the same thing. And so you see higher revenue per advertiser, you see higher return on ad spend, and we expect and predict based on what we're seeing that this year is going to be a very similar story. So that said, we've talked about the holiday because obviously that's the elephant in the room, but it's really at its best when you're using connected TV for performance all year round. So if you're launching a flighted campaign for a specific event or promotion, seasonal thing, etc., that's great, and you should, but you want to make sure you have that ever presence on connected TV. This is where people watch television now. More people stream television than they do for pay TV, like cable. So you want to have a presence there. I think I've said that, but I'll repeat it because it's important. And CTV, when you use the right solution, it kind of streamlines the TV advertising world. So before, could be a little cumbersome. Now you can use a UI to upload your creative, enter a budget, enter your goal, your performance goal, like a return on ad spend, a cost per acquisition, for example, and use a platform like Mountain to optimize toward that goal. And it's very intuitive, very, it's built for ease of use, and the pain points of swapping out video creative. If you want to update an ad, it's a few clicks of a mouse button. It's nothing. It's very, very simple. You can test campaigns. You can test creative. We'll get into that a little bit in a bit. But you can do A/B tests, see which message is resonating. If you want to test a CTA versus another one, or one voiceover versus another, you can, and you can see which ad is really performing. You can take those learnings to other channels, even a linear TV approach if you're running that. So with these things that we have listed on the slide, yeah, it kind of is hopefully painting a picture of this is accessible, it's intuitive, and it is flexible for a lot of different advertisers' needs, especially when you get into the holidays. If you got a Black Friday sale, a Cyber Monday, if you want to update creative, again, a few clicks of a mouse, you can do that. So getting started, we're talking about how this is a powerful channel, but maybe you're on this call, you're beginning your journey about learning about connected TV advertising. And so this is probably a good thing to include. For the folks who have a little bit more experience, bear with us, or maybe there's something here that you can learn from. Essentially, these can go live very quickly. I was talking about the ease of use, the accessibility of a UI. That allows you to log in, enter your information that you need, upload your creative, pick your audiences, and set the campaign live. And then, that's it. Like, your ads will start serving on premium networks, the networks that people watch every day by the millions. The beautiful thing about that is the budgets are also lower. And so you're going to see kind of a theme in this deck, where we're kind of comparing to linear TV, but also, again, I mentioned that the CTV space is somewhat fragmented. There's a lot of different options out there. So budgets, how much you need to spend to test, how much you need to spend to get started matters. And so, if you're looking for a solution out there, and you just want to dip your toe in the water, or you want to commit, the nice thing is that it doesn't cost relatively that much when it comes to being able to commit to something like that. And so what we've seen on our platform, because we are, I'll brag a little bit, we're at the forefront of how this is being done, how CTV, how television advertising in general is being morphed into a digital channel that digital marketers have access to. You see the stat at the bottom, 90% of Mountain customers have never advertised on TV before. That's showing that there is a new market that's emerging in television, and it's probably due to a number of factors: the low cost of entry, the ease of use, a system that people are very familiar with the digital channels they're already running, and also the ability to optimize for performance, to optimize similar to a paid search or paid social campaign. That makes TV a viable option for a lot of advertisers that were relying primarily on those channels before. And now they get to add something that is equally as powerful, but also has, again, the best ad unit out there in the world. They make top 10 lists about the best TV ads for major sporting events or for the year. They're not doing that with banner ads. Maybe they do. I'd love to see them, because I imagine they would have to stand out, because there's a lot of banner ads out there. But getting started on CTV, not so bad. Highly recommend it. I know I'm biased, but it's still true. Very easy to get started. Cool. So now we've kind of laid the groundwork there. I want to dive into one specific aspect of connected TV advertising, which is the targeting. So if you're familiar with digital campaigns, the interest-based, the geo-targeting, if you're doing prospecting campaigns, trying to find new customers, you can use data providers, cast a wide net, find out generally like, oh, if we sell shoes, let me find interests, let me find groups of advertisers in these data, customers in this data that I'd want to reach. And so you get this big scalable audience. When you're looking through it through the lens of performance, you definitely want to make sure you're casting a larger net, because especially if you're trying to find newer customers, trying to raise your brand awareness, trying to make people aware of what you do, that matters. But you also don't want to waste impressions either. And so one of the things to solve for is budget efficiency. Again, 90% of customers on Mountain never advertised on CTV before. That is folks who really care about their budgets. We want to make sure their budgets are well spent. And so through technological advances, which I kind of mentioned at the top, this is one of those, Mountain Matched, you're able to get better results for the spend you're already putting in. And so talked about those interest-based audiences. Mountain Matched essentially cuts through the clutter of what could be in those interest-based audiences where someone might not be in market or just wouldn't be interested in your offering. And through a lot of back-end wizardry and AI, if you could believe it, AI is everywhere and it's here too, shocker, but it is a special use of AI. We'll cover that. You're able to zero in on the folks who are in those audiences normally, but actually would see your ad and are highly likely to take action afterwards, be that visit your website, go to a physical location if you have one, and buy something and convert or sign up, whatever your conversion is. This technology was developed specifically for that. I think if you're thinking about this through the lens of just CTV advertising in general, and let's say you're not going to work with Mountain, I think the takeaway here is focus on the opportunity that CTV offers, where technology can be developed, where you can magically sift through. I call it magic because it might as well be. I don't know how the technical aspects really work on the engineering side. It's magic to me. But cuts through all of that, finds the folks that are more likely to engage, and makes your dollars go a lot further. And you can see on this slide, this is going beyond just targeting. We got to call it matching, because you're matching your brand with customers who can become that great loyal next customer moving forward. And as you see on the slide here, it uses a keyword-based audience targeting system. Very obviously, search, everyone knows how that functions. Same concept. The AI will not scrape, that's such a rough word. It analyzes your website for the type of business you are, how you just tell your own story, how you describe your products, and then it recommends audience keywords. Those keywords then are provided to you, and then you're able to edit, remove, add them if you see something that you think would really work. Then it takes those generated keywords, matches them to audiences, and then plucks out the folks that would engage based on your control around the keyword targeting. And so it reaches 99% of available US households. It buckets them. So when you're talking about performance on connected TV advertising, not the awareness aspect. Awareness, you just want to make sure you're reaching as many people as possible. Hopefully, a lot of them are interested in what you do. But on the performance side, you want that dollar to really land, really make a difference, and affect the bottom line. Mountain Match will focus on that through intent. So it buckets them into high intent audiences, medium intent, and then maximum reach, because sometimes you want to cover your high intent audience, but you also want to cast that wide net too. It allows you to do both of those things. And so again, it's the opportunity that connected TV advertising offers that allows for this kind of technology to even exist, which is huge. And this was science fiction for regular TV 10, 5, 20 years ago, doesn't matter. It's pretty cool. So yeah, more bonuses around that. That's the gift that keeps on giving the whole year. I'm pretty sure that's a National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation reference. I just noticed that. Props to the folks who made the deck. You can see also when it comes to that intent-based audiences, the technology, again, you get a lot of detailed information. You can bucket it out by intent. You can see how much of that spend goes into each bucket. While your campaign is live, you're getting real-time reporting, and it's reporting back to the keywords, so you can see which keywords are effective for you. It really is just great. And if you're going to Q4, a tool like this, when things matter a lot, for the bottom line, this is a fantastic tool to utilize. It's available on the Mountain platform. Unfortunately, it's not available anywhere else. I mean, fortunately for Mountain, because it's really cool, but it's one of those things, again, fragmented space, a lot of different solutions out there. The vendor that you end up going with, the solution that you end up working with, matters quite a bit, because it'll unlock things like Mountain Matched if you choose the right one. And so this is obviously not just for Q4, it extends into year round. That targeting system works whether it's the height of shopping season or the summer doldrums. It's going to provide those high intent audiences for you all year round. And of course, you can't have a performance channel if you don't know if it's performing. So measurement is an important aspect, and any CTV solution worth its salt is able to provide that insight. If you're going to be serving those ads, you want to know what impact they're making, right? And so again, using Mountain as the example, our measurement is driven by an attribution model, verified visits. It's a cross-device one because streaming TV generally, when it comes to advertising, is a cross-device experience. Someone's going to see that ad on a television. They're going to navigate to a website on their phone, tablet, computer, work computer, etc. You want to be able to measure that journey. You want to know when someone sees your ad and the actions they take afterward. That attribution model allows you to know that. And so the information it collects then allows you to measure return on ad spend, cost per acquisition, those goals that you could enter as your primary objective. It'll optimize for that, and then you can actually see the success in real time as the performance starts to roll in, which is very cool. And again, one of those very accessible things about connected TV advertising. Mentioned the creative testing a little earlier. Again, this is something that is unique to CTV, where you're able to just see it in a dashboard, run one version of creative, run the other version of creative, get the full report on both, and then make a strategic decision on which one you think, or what the numbers are showing anyway, the one you want to run with. More information is better. Limiting the variables when you're testing is a big best practice. You want to try to limit it to one. Just kind of getting into the details here, but because too much information can be a bad thing. You want to make sure you know what is being adjusted or what is making that difference, and that's possible on connected TV. It takes out a little bit of that guesswork, which is always great for folks who are busy marketing. So a quick detour back into the Q4, which is coming up. So gift cards are always a big deal, and this is something that you look out in their industry research, folks are buying a ton of them, and so you always want to make sure that that's part of your messaging. If you have those, consumers will buy those, and then they tend to spend more once they have the gift card. So they go in and they'll spend on top of what the gift card provides them. That's fantastic for everyone. And so as you come out of Q4, tapping into this, this year-round thing, this theme that we have, those gift cards can be a vehicle for you as you move into Q1, because you're getting a lot of folks that are going to be ready to spend, whether it be on your website or in store. And so you definitely want to make sure you're keeping that message up, going back to the creative testing. If you want to maybe test the waters around gift cards, see if that's compelling for your audience, you can do that. And if so, you carry that momentum into Q1, because people will have that cash or plastic cards in their pocket. They'll be looking to spend it. And so, yeah, let that influence your messaging. And if folks are going into a brick and mortar location for you, if that is something that your business has, you have the offline attribution element to CTV as well, which is fantastic, right? So A lot of hybrid businesses out there have e-commerce, but also have that brick and mortar. You can track the e-commerce performance extremely well. It's a locked-in science. The offline, people are walking into the store, it may become a little trickier, but this is accounted for a lot of different partnerships, data partnerships on the back end. Essentially, like the platform has to be prepared for that. Like the ad solution you're using has to have that capability. So if you do have a brick and mortar location, might be something to check as well. You can track the order IDs or the transaction ID, and it really gives you that holistic, all-inclusive view of the impact your ads are driving, whether that's in-store or online. So definitely wanted to make mention of that because that's a really great way to kind of transition out of Q4 into Q1, getting into the rhythm of 2025 and the next calendar year. So one of the things, just kind of transitioning into that creative conversation, said like maybe you can focus on gift cards and your creative. Maybe that's something, a message you want to continue to run. If you have seasonal creative, there's a chance that it has holiday themed messaging. It has visuals that are tied to the season, and that's a best practice that it makes sense to do that, right? We'll tap into the moment. But you do need a plan for the rest of the year. You can't be running jingle bells and snow in July. You might, but you'll stand out anyway. But I don't know if that's a best practice. So creative, the ability to develop TV-worthy creative can be a challenge for a brand that is smaller, not necessarily for the larger brands that are advertising on television in general. They have big budgets set aside for that. But one of the things we've seen with these new TV advertisers on our platform, on the Mountain platform, 9 out of 10 of them, they are coming in and they kind of have that challenge because TV is a new space for them. So they're able to leverage existing assets because you just need a 15 or a 30-second ad unit. That's very often an exercise in editing. That can be done in-house, or you can work with an agency or a creative marketplace that are out there now. There are a lot of solutions available to bring down the cost of video creative, which allows you to spend more on the media, which makes you able to make back the money that you spent on said creative, and it's a wonderful thing. So I think the need for creative is a big one, but it's solvable. Shameless plug, Mountain, our creative partner is QuickFrame, and they are a creative marketplace. They work with top tier teams of creative experts who create TV commercials for a living. They're paired with you. You have the ability to give a brief, make it clear for your vision of what you want to execute, and then they're amazing what they do. They deliver on that. So, and it's vastly affordable. So that is not a challenge if you think like, well, we don't know if we have the video creative firepower for it for an all-year evergreen approach. I'd say check it out. Go to quickframe.com or give it a Google and see if there's other solutions out there that scratch that itch. But don't let that be a blocker. The TV commercials, being able to produce those at scale isn't as big of a challenge as you may believe, or maybe you've already done this and you're nodding your head, because yeah, it unlocks a lot of opportunity when it comes to connected TV advertising. So, mentioned that Q5. We're getting close to the end of this deck, you guys. We're gonna end strong here. So we're talking about that Q4 to Q1 transition, and you'll be getting into that new year, starting things off right. There's a few tips here. I won't go bullet by bullet because that's don't read the slides. That's a general rule. But this hopefully kind of gives an image of a picture of what you can do. And so leveraging those creative solutions to be able to edit those creative solutions, by the way, that you don't have to make a net new commercial. You can take your assets, they can rework it, put in title card, voiceover, stock footage, make it feel like new. bring that into Q1 and then continue to iterate as you move through the year. All of these bullets here are kind of fall into that bucket. So, oh, and that last one actually is a big one, the retargeting. So the holidays, you're gonna have a ton of traffic coming to your site. With connected TV, you can retarget website visitors. So Q1, big opportunity to do that. You're gonna have a very large retargeting pool. These are folks who know your brand already. You can serve them a more concentrated message. You know, you don't have to introduce yourself. You can talk about the products that they want to buy. You can even showcase those in the creative. So don't sleep on that. The retargeting aspect is a big one and a big advantage for connected TV. All right, so let's end it on some key takeaways. We started with a key takeaway. We're going to end with 3 key takeaways. So that first one, I hope it's become apparent throughout this conversation, but CTV is a performance channel if you use it like one. It's definitely has that awareness aspect as well, but performance is imperative, and you're going to want to take advantage of it. Don't leave that opportunity on the table. And then, you know, once you have that Q4 success, if you're able to set it up in time, or if you're starting to think about January already, start your adventure, or you know, continue to iterate and bring the learnings you may have learned on CTV in general into the performance channel aspect of it as well, because there's a lot of learnings that can be transferred over. Similarly, if you do search and social, you can bring those same learnings to CTV. The audience targeting aspect is really kind of what unlocks CTV as a performance channel, because you're able to cut through the clutter, find the folks that will engage with your brand, and drive them to your site or store. That's huge. And then lastly, it's the opportunity that Q4 presents, which is a unique one on the calendar where you're going to get a ton of site visitors. Again, take that momentum, bring it into the new year. So many of those folks are your next loyal customers. So engage them, take advantage of the retargeting aspect, A/B test your creative, make sure you're sending messages that resonate with those folks, and you're going to reap the benefits throughout the year. That's it. That's the presentation, and I think up next we've got QA, so I'll kick it back to James.
Great, thanks, Tim. It's impressive what you guys do there with connecting, you know, those offline and online channels. It blows my mind that it's even possible. I remember seeing these kind of you guys and some of your competitors coming up and just not even understanding how it's possible. So like you said, the technology behind the scenes there is really impressive. So we do have a few questions from the audience already, but if anybody else has any questions, a reminder that there's a question box on the right side of your screen. So feel free to pop a question in there and get it answered today on the call. If we can't get to everything, the Mountain team can follow up as well. So Tim, we'll start off with a question about kind of the holidays. I know you said it's not just the holidays, but we'll start with a question there. So do you foresee any economic issues affecting the holidays or New Year results?
I mean, yeah, I mean, that's always going to be at play. Kind of hark back to the graph with the holiday consumer spend trends. Very resilient spending. It seems like it's able to weather a lot of storms. Again, just that one year in 2008, which was a real rough one, where you saw any sort of step back. So, I mean, the answer is there's a possibility. There always is. That's life. But in terms of Q4 specifically, and then really the trends that we've seen on our platform, where we do have advertisers that are running those year-round ones. The momentum coming into Q4, as we look at what's happening with our advertisers, seems to indicate that consumers are ready to roll and they're ready to rock when it comes to Q4. So yeah, I mean, you can never be 100% certain of things, but you can use the evidence you kind of have so far to make an educated guess. And mine is that, yeah, we're gonna have a really solid Q4. It's looking really good.
Yeah, I agree. We're seeing some on the DC360 side. We're definitely seeing strength, especially among online, where maybe if the overall market maybe isn't growing super fast like it has in a couple previous years, but it's the online space is growing, is providing a ton of growth. So I'm also feeling pretty good. We just updated our projections, so we're feeling good as well. So again, kind of short term, but probably really important. I know I'm watching, I feel like, more TV than ever. We've got a debate tonight. I'm sure I'll be seeing some commercials there. So how will the election have an impact on the end of this year and early next year's CTV performance? And should people think about opting out of running on news until the election's finished in case that, tinges their or affects their image or anything like that?
Yeah, I'd say that, and I don't have the numbers in front of me, but this is a question that's been asked elsewhere, and there was some research done where effectively there was a survey. I wish I had the specifics, but the rough overview is essentially when advertisers advertise during news, it didn't really affect consumer sentiment nor brand perception or anything like that. So obviously this is going to be a big news cycle with an election, but know that no one's going to hold it against you if you're advertising during like news broadcasts and stuff like that. When it comes to political ad spend, on the other hand, that is definitely something to kind of be aware of, because essentially what you get every really 2 years of midterms, but presidential elections especially, you're going to get a big injection of ad spend, which just wouldn't be there normally. And when it comes to the advertising, that's going to be more money that's being bid for placements. CPMs might be affected by that. And so it's definitely something to be aware of. It's going to affect, how you conduct business. That said, again, going back to, I sound like a broken record, but the performance aspect of CTV, where you're able to get that measurable return, it definitely mitigates the impact of a higher CPM when you're getting a return for it. So if you're able to get like a 3x, 5x on your spend when it comes to revenue, that makes it a little easier to stomach a potentially higher CPM. And that it's not guaranteed, but it's definitely something that's out there. So on the awareness front, if you're running awareness campaigns, top of funnel, definitely keep an eye. But it becomes more palatable when you know that you're going to spend X amount, you're going to get a multiple back. It's money well spent at the end of the day. So yeah, something to be aware of, but don't let it affect you too much. Don't overthink it, I think is the guidance there.
Yeah, and so you talked about doing this year round, but if a retailer doesn't have necessarily a ton of ad budget, how do you recommend transitioning from holiday creative and then going into the new year?
Yeah, I would say the nice thing is, we talked about the CPM just now, and the holidays is a very competitive time. Everyone's tired in January, and so that spend drops off. So that's one less thing. Similar to like being aware of the election, know that in January it's going to be a little cooler. That said, we've seen a lot of success. In fact, that was a story that we were running last year. We do a lot of like analysis of the advertisers on our platform, and it gives us insight into, hey, how is this channel shaping up? And one thing we found was that January was like ridiculous when it came to returns on ad spend, because the folks who, and that's why we're giving that best practice today, is like we saw last year, the advertisers that stayed active into Q1 were able to generate reap the rewards, certainly. And so if you do have a lower budget, again, you can still make that, you can stretch that on CTV. If you're investing in things with a return, that makes that you're able to get more money back, and keep doing that, obviously. And then I think the creative aspect, those solutions where if you don't have a big budget for creative, there are things out there that can produce like legit TV ads that you would see that would assume that a ton of money was spent on it, and really it was just experts in the craft using what they know to create something amazing. And so yeah, I think if your budget's low, doesn't mean you shouldn't be on CTV. You can get that measurable return. You can solve for the creative challenges, and this is going to be something that at the end of the quarter, in the beginning of H2, you're looking at your your overall strategy and thinking like, man, I'm glad we were on CTV because it was definitely a performer for us. So.
Right. So question about the technology you guys have there. How does mountain matched audiences compare to regular CTV targeting?
Yeah, it's definitely all about that intent. So it's a good question. The really, I think it is a matter of finding those folks that are more likely to engage. And the way that it does that is essentially it takes a ton of different variables and it will bring in, it's kind of an interesting thing. I wish I had a visual for it, but essentially it's using educated guesses. And I think an example is like, let's say you're selling like insurance or something like that. Mountain Matched is able to find folks who are having life events that would actually lead to someone buying insurance, like if you're buying a home, if you're buying a new car, etc. It's able to connect the dots, and I think that's what's nice about it, is it's using a ton of digital brain power to kind of play all the angles, and as it does that, it's able to build these high intent audiences where it's like, okay, if all of this is weighted and it all has a value, and this is me just making it up for the sake of an example, we're going to add everything together and put it into the high intent bucket because these variables add up to, hey, generally this is the type of person that would convert. And so with CTV audience targeting in general, you're not getting that extra step. You're going to still be going after folks who have interests, but it's a more broad stroke. The audience sizes are massive because it's a reach play, and you're going to reach a lot of folks, but you're also going to be delivering impressions to a lot of people who aren't necessarily interested. So I'd say that's the difference. It's matched kind of elevates those traditional audiences in a way and kind of carves through them and reassembles them in a way that is going to maximize your returns.
Great, thank you. I think that's about all we have time for today, but I want to say thanks to Tim and thanks to the audience for joining us today. There will be a webinar or a replay of the webinar available. And after we conclude, you'll see a pop-up window on your screen asking you to provide feedback on today's discussion. If you take a few moments to fill that out, that helps us really narrow down our webinars so that they provide the best content for our audience. Also be sure to look out for other webinars from DC360 coming to your inbox. Thanks, Tim.
Thank you, James. Thanks for having me.